On tonight's show, Loveline veteran, TV personality, writer, and comedian Adam Carolla is here to talk about his newest venture into the world of radio. Dashboard Confessional will join Heidi May for an exclusive musical performance, and I'll remind you who was responsible for Superman before he returned. Stay right here. Have you stood in line to gain entrance into a movie theater, paid top dollar for a ticket, stood in another line to purchase a wax paper cup filled with a semi-flat, not-so-cold soda for way too much money, and then found your seat and waited for that magic moment when the theater darkens and the trailers start to run before the main feature, only to see an advertisement for a cell phone or a car cover the screen? The audience always boos. Companies are relentless in their pursuit of connecting you with their product. They are like Terminators. They will not stop ever. In advertising, it seems that nothing, nowhere, and no one is safe, sacred, or spared. In the summer of 2005, Carolyn Smith auctioned her forehead as permanent advertising space on eBay. GoldenPalace.com bought the space for a mere $10,000, and dear Carolyn got the domain name tattooed on her forehead in 1-inch high letters. I wonder what company will be the first to get their logo on the uniform of a prison inmate who goes to the lethal injection chamber. At some point, perhaps the military could sew patches of company logos on the fatigues of their troops. A rockin' Exxon patch would look pretty cool. Innovative, crass, and without shame, advertisers have turned predatory, and we are their prey. So what can you do besides screen your calls, delete their incoming emails, and try to live your life as some company's target demographic? Well, at least someone's thinking of you, so you never have to feel that you're alone in the world. Your friends might not ask you to come with them when they go out, but chances are someone is concerned that you're not getting the mortgage rate you deserve. And there's at least a few hundred beautiful women who want to hear from you right now. So you have that going for you. So cheer the fuck up and order now! Joining me now is comedian, television producer, and radio host Adam Carolla. In addition to producing Crank Yankers, The Jimmy Kimmel Show, his new radio broadcast, The Adam Carolla Show, is now airing in 11 major markets, helping good folks get through their morning commutes. Adam?
Good to see you, Henry.
Good to see you again.
My pleasure. And nice to be on this end of the interview.
Yeah, finally. You're
Yes.
Well, you've got this big-ass radio show now, so we have to talk about that for a minute. How's it going?
It's going well, you know. It's weird doing comedy in the morning kind of sucks because it's like there are different times for different things. Like I love goulash, but I don't want goulash at 6 a.m. Yeah. You know what I mean? I like brisket. I don't want 6 a.m. I might even slam a little heroin, but I don't want to do it before, while the roosters are crowing. You know, it's a nighttime thing. Booze, comedy, women, steaks, cigars.
Abduction.
It's all stuff you do after the streetlights come on. So it's weird to do comedy at 6 a.m., 7:10. You know, there's not a comedy club in the world that opens before 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I did, at one point at Indy 103, the morning guy was on vacation. So they're calling people up, hey, will you do the morning slot? I'm like, sure. And it was one of the most difficult times I've ever had on radio. Just how do you make that rock? I mean, that would be very challenging.
It's also, there's a sort of traffic cop component of it, or a plate spinner component of it. It sort of sucks when you have to keep saying the time and the phone number. And, when you get started, It's tough. I mean, I couldn't remember the phone number. I couldn't remember, who was in the studio. I didn't know where the microphone was. It's like driving a rental car. What you want to do is free your brain up to the point where it can focus solely on the creative endeavors.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when you're driving a rental car, you think you're turning the wipers on and you turn the lights on. You think you're turning up the volume on the radio and you're changing the channel. So half your brain has to go toward mechanical bullshit that's not funny and it's not creative, but if you don't do it, you'll hit the guardrail.
Right.
At a certain point, you're driving your car. You're smoking a cigarette, you're making a cell call, you're putting on your makeup, you're getting a Hummer, you're steering with your knee, and you're able to turn the defroster on with your big toe while you're switching lanes. Now the creative process is wide open.
So in that, you're filling in these massive shoes of Howard Stern, of course. And so anyone going in there is going to get, love him or hate him, they're going to get compared.
Right.
Brutally. And so have you grown tired of the Stern word?
It's weird. I mean, Stern and I are friendly, which is interesting and
he's a cool guy.
Surreal. Yeah, I mean, he's
a likable guy. I like Howard.
Completely likable. My initial sort of take on it was, it was sort of like everyone would say, well, this is intimidating. I mean, you're coming in to fill the king of all media's shoes. How are you going to do this? And my sort of take was, look, Brad Pitt left Jennifer Aniston. Now Jennifer Aniston wants to fuck you. Now, you don't look as good as Brad Pitt with your shirt off. You probably don't screw as good as Brad Pitt, but are you going to tell her to fuck off? Hell no. This is an opportunity. What are you going to do? You're going to tell Jennifer Aniston, put something on and get out of the room? I want to watch, because I'll never live up to Brad Pitt? Hell no. So that was kind of, my take was, yeah, he was good, but it's still a great opportunity.
Sure.
And first off, the Howard Sterns of the world come along. I was going to say once every whatever, but it's really just once.
Yeah.
Because there's only one Howard Stern. I do believe there's only one Adam Carolla. That doesn't mean I'm ever going to get the ratings he got. That doesn't mean I'm ever going to get the publicity he got. I do feel like I have something to bring, and I am not intimidated by him as an artist.
Well, at any point were you courted or tempted by the allure of satellite radio?
Yeah. Well, I was, and Howard and I had a little dispute about it because Howard was going over to satellite, and he is a fan of my work, and he wanted me to go with him and go do something over there. And I just kept saying, well, how much money are we talking about? Not that that's what it's all about, but, people pull that bullshit all the time where they go, whoa, I see, it's about the money. Well, no, it's not about the money, but how much fucking money are we talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was about the money. I thought you're an artist. I thought you had an opinion. I thought you want to express yourself. Yeah, not for $5 an hour I don't want to express myself. I'll fucking do that at home, I mean, the thing is like, look, you want to pay me $30 million a year? I'm there. You want to pay me nothing? I'm not there. It is about the money. It's not all about the money, but it's a factor. And I never could get a clear answer on how much money it was about. Stern got a little PO'd because he was like, oh, I see, it's about the money. And I was like, it's not about the money, but we got to discuss a price at a certain point.
Sure.
Right. So that was I had some discussions with XM and Sirius about that, but they were just discussions. They never really got into it.
Anything.
Right.
Now, he's not a counterpart, but some saw him as your counterpart. David Lee Roth, who took the East Coast, or at least some territories on the east of the Mississippi, whatever, from Howard Stern when he left. He was fairly unceremoniously dumped from the air recently. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, a couple thoughts. One is, we have the same bosses. And, I would hear the sob stories from them all, starting about day one about, this guy's tough to work with and he's got a lot of attitude and blah, blah, blah. So I always made sure to play nice. And the thing is, you know, you can't be an a-hole until it's time to be an a-hole. You can be an a-hole when you've taken the nation by storm and when you're #1 in all the top 10 markets. But first day on the job, if you're an a-hole, there's going to be trouble. And I think David Lee Roth, and I don't really mean this in a pejorative way, but I think he's a little bit crazy. And crazy people, they're sort of like hummingbirds. They're a little hard to wrangle. You've probably dated a few of them in your day. They don't take direction real well. Maybe you're that person too. When you're crazy, you don't take direction very well. And that's what makes a lot of great artists, but great artists have trouble getting up at 4:30 in the morning and reading the traffic, weather, and news, you know? So I think the guy's a rock star. Getting up at 5 a.m. is just not in the cards for him.
You being a comic, you know, being a funny guy, you funny guys tend to let the language get a little loose. Do you have a censor on the show?
Yeah. We have a guy who sits there and hits a dump button. And big light goes off.
And how does that
in there?
How does that work exactly? How many seconds delay?
It's a 20-second delay, and he sits there with like headphones on and listens very closely.
And with like a finger to the, you know, at the ready?
Yeah, he hits. Yeah, he's primed. He's poised, and he hits the dump button. And once in a while, he'll get it wrong, because once in a while you'll go, listen, I don't give a flying flock what the, and you know, you see the dump thing go off, and then you're like, I said flock. I didn't say fuck, I said flock, but I realized the poor son of a bitch is probably having a nervous breakdown soon.
Now there's the, you know, the cuss word part of the FCC, but also they monitor content.
Yeah, we had a porn star on the other day, and she wanted one of our interns to go down on her in the studio. And it was like one of those moments for me where it was like, well, Howard Stern would have done this a few months back. It would have been funny. This is the reason, one of the reasons why everyone loved him and talked about the show. On the other hand, I can see a fine coming here. I may get shit canned. So he ended up sucking her tits, and we just called it a push. But I don't know. Yeah, you can't go down. Now, how does it work? There's no profanity involved with it. It's not like we're mic'd up his tongue or anything. But it's a weird, like, well, it's actually kind of pink. But yeah, gray when they get older, Henry. The point is can Big Tad go down on Summer Sanders or whoever the fuck it was in there or not? I just decided on the fly, probably not.
One last thing. I heard you on the radio months ago, and you said one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Wow.
It was you said you were talking about the birthday with the prank candles.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to make a point.
No.
I think that's just one of the most on things I've ever heard in my life.
Yes, I swear to fuck, my nephew had a birthday party, and my sister did this with the fake things, and about the kid, you know, the 5-year-old does the first, and then it's like, ha ha, they came back. About the 5th time, 8 more kids join in on this fucking gangbang that's going on, this Petri dish gangbang that was a cake, and everyone's just going all over it. And then, when they're done, everyone's just cutting up slices and handing it out. Now, meanwhile, we live in a fucking society where people leave the bathroom and do this to turn the knob. There's 8 kids just been blowing phlegm, hepatitis C, God knows what those kids have, all over the goddamn cake. Everyone just takes a piece. And I realized if this were another food, no one would do it. Like if someone had a lasagna from the Olive Garden and 8 kids were like, and then someone, hey, Henry, here's some lasagna. You'd be like, fuck that. I'll fucking eat that shit. But all I'm saying is who is the fucking joke on? The kid? I don't think so. He's out of breath. I'm dying of tuberculosis now. He's just out of breath. The joke's on us. The joke's on the fucking guy who bought the candles. Rarely do you buy a joke that's on the guy who buys the joke gift. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. I will always be your fan. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks for having me.
Coming up later on the show, we have an exclusive performance from Dashboard Confessional. But first, another installment of Drawing Conclusions. I know kids. I don't have any, but I dig them. They're great. I don't want any kids because I see what it does to people. It keeps them at home a lot, and I'd rather just be able to leave. Well, no, if I was a dad, I'd be all over that kid. What'd you learn in school today? What'd you read? What are you listening to? Dad, get off my shit. You know, I wouldn't be on tour every year, so I don't dig the parent scene for myself. But I have this interesting relationship with my manager's children. One is 6, the little girl is 6, the boy is 8. And so I visit these kids when I'm in Los Angeles between tours. It's the only people who call me at home. And on Saturday, the phone will ring, like, "Hi, come over." And I'll try to explain to the boy that I'm really busy. I'm on the internet. I'm solving problems. And he knows me. He's like, "No, you're not. You don't know anybody. You're totally dysfunctional. You have no friends. You're not doing anything. You're sitting in your underwear dicking around on eBay. Come over." Like, he got me. So I pull up in the driveway, and I get out of the car. He's hiding behind these bushes, thinking I can't see him. He thinks he's like ninja. But really, he's all shaking. The bushes are shaking. I'm like, "Gee, where's the little maniac?" And that's his cue to go, "Ah!" And so I'm like, "It's the big guy." And I forget the ritual because I've been away for so long. He runs up to me, and at the last possible second, he folds up his pudgy right hand into a little fist, and he goes, BAM! Right in my nuts. Drops me like a bad habit, right on the ground. And so he's able to the little right, he's able to trap my left ball between his chocolate-packed little fist and my nut and my leg. Bam! It hurts like a motherfucker. And all of you guys have been kicked, flicked, or bumped in the balls. And there's that moment, and you have to assess, how bad is it going to be? Because there's this moment where the pain just sits there. And then it starts moving slowly from the actual ball up into your body cavity. And it will rest right here for about a second. And you're sitting there going, "Okay, don't move, don't move." Because if it just stays there, you'll be able to walk it off. But if it moves up to your belt line and stops again, then you're in for the long afternoon of discontent. Because it kind of hovers there, then it radiates outwards and goes backwards towards your spine. And that's when you go from ow, ow to ooh. This is his opportunity to run around behind me and start drop kicking me in the rib cage. And the more I'm like, boom, 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 like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And I go, "Don't, you shouldn't do that." He's picking up momentum now. He's just like working me over. I'm getting this ankle-biting, booger-eating Gestapo beatdown in the driveway. It's like, bam, bam. Then the mother comes out. "Oh, hi, I see the kids have found you." And she doesn't say anything like, "Stop kicking the old man." Nothing like that. Just like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And now, here's Heidi May with this week's musical performance from Dashboard Confessional.
Thanks, Henry. On a rare occasion, a performer finds the courage to offer listeners true vulnerability and is willing to expose himself with every chord and every lyric. Chris Carolla has always worn his heart on his sleeve, and that honesty has earned him a spot in the hearts of millions of fans. Performing the song Don't Wait off their latest album, this is Dashboard Confessional, Uncut.
Thank you again to my guests, Dashboard Confessional and Adam Carolla. Before we go, I'd like to mark Superman's return by giving this week's end credits to Joe Shuster, Jerry Siegel, and Richard Donner. Back in 1933, Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel created the Superman comic book character, but spent much of their lives fighting a copyright deal that denied them creative credit or even any substantial financial compensation generated from one of the most commercially successful fictional characters of all time. Richard Donner was hired to direct both Superman and Superman 2, which were to be shot simultaneously in 1976. Donner is credited for saving Superman from a campy script favored by the studio and pushing for the then unknown Christopher Reeve as the lead and hiring John Williams to compose the movie's now famous score. Donner was fired midway through directing Superman 2, even though the first film would eventually open to both critical praise and commercial success. So, while Superman's rise to cultural prominence is a complicated tale of egos and greed, what Superman stands for is refreshingly uncomplicated: truth, justice, and the American way. In an era of juiced-up baseball players, war-mongering politicians, and celebrity sex tapes, maybe it's not such a bad time for the Man of Steel to come back and show people what wholesome morals look like. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.